Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mari's Golden Hour. That time that you take out of the day for yourself, whether it be 30 seconds, a minute, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, a full 2 hours, the whole day. It is yours to do what you would like, what you love. Reflect, think, dance, sing, what have you. It is your time to do whatever. Well, with whatever within reason. So, anyway, let's get down to it. So, sleep for me has not been easy or quick, and it feels like that's been going on for a while. And I don't know about you, if you have experienced that, but I have, and it's for a variety of reasons. Some we know, others we don't. When one is stressed out, it's a little difficult to sleep. If you have that chatty brain, like I think most of us nowadays have, it's really hard to settle down. And it really hasn't helped that I have conked out on the couch. An uncomfy one, I might add, way too many nights in a row. And that's, I think, affected my sleep a lot and affected my body in a way that is not comfortable. So one of the movies I recently watched is it's A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and I attended a screening of the Fred Rogers documentary that took place last year or so, and I got through most of it without too much bawling, but of course not all the way through. And so in light of that, and also the past couple months and what I've gone through with loss, in addition to everything that everybody else has been experiencing around the world with the virus and other things that I will get to a little bit later. So in light of all that I've been going through in the past couple months, I held off on watching this film starring Tom Hanks, knowing that I probably couldn't handle it. But I decided to rent it earlier last week, I should say, thinking that I would be alright, and I felt that I was emotionally ready for it. But tissues definitely were needed, and pretty much from the get-go, and it all started with theme music, so which I'm sure that most people are familiar with. If you are not familiar with Mr. Rogers, I suggest you Google or use whatever search engine you would like. Google Fred Rogers or Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and not to be confused with Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, which is an old SNL skit portrayed by Eddie Murphy. That in itself is a classic. But anyway, I finished watching the movie and I started watching some of the bonus bits and the documentary while I was multitasking, and I wasn't weepy or emotional during my time watching that, and I believe that's because my mind was focused on a bunch of other things and doing the different tasks at hand, and I didn't get weepy, didn't cry, or maybe I was just all cried out. So later on that day, after watching all the documentary and the featured bits and whatnot, I went to a job later on, and after I had settled in and I checked in with the super, I happened to go back into their office, and I saw on a whiteboard the quote, which is the first line of the Fred Rogers theme song, which was, and well, it still is, "It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood," signed Fred Rogers. And I saw that, and the first thought was like, oh, but then instantly I felt like I was hit out of nowhere and I lost it. And unfortunately, this happened in front of that super and their assistant, and I just could not stop with the waterworks. And it was draining, and I was ticked off with myself for not keeping it together while I was working. And luckily, somebody that I like to call the Irish Batty, he wasn't there that day, or any other staff for that matter. Something like that is, I don't do that in public. I keep it reserved for private moments. If I am in public, it's in my car. And I know that we all need that release every once in a while, but I just try not to do it in public. But and I don't know what the point the universe or what have you was trying to make by the quote-unquote randomness of my seeing that particular quote of Fred Rogers. Like when I saw it, where I saw it, why I saw it. But it was trippy. And the thing is, I don't know if that quote was always there. And if so, why did I not take notice of it earlier? Why did I take notice of it that particular day? And also, the whole thing just made me spill all kinds of personal guts in front of, the super and the assistant. And I don't know if, something I was thinking of is that maybe that is, or it can be considered a sort of like a new passive form of torture or a way to get intel out of people is by, kind of pressing those sad, weepy buttons, the ones that make us vulnerable. And, anyway. So, I'm sure that this is not a new thought at all whatsoever, but it's one that popped up. I think in light of what I was talking about last week, when I was talking about Memorial Day facts during my birthday episode, which was May 30th. So, thank you. Anyway, let's see. So, why is it called Civil War when there's really nothing civil about it? And I know that the answer is out there, but I'm just posing that question anyway. While I was driving on the freeway during the week, there was construction, like lots and lots of construction. And among all the orange signage, sorry for a very heavy tongue. This is all part of my fatigue, so I apologize for tripping up on my words this episode. But anyway, with all the orange signage that I saw along the way, one of them said, both shoulders closed. And I swear, I was so tired and sleep deprived that morning that I read it as, bitch, shoulders closed. Yeah, it was really, really tired. And this also reminds me of a post that a friend had put up. And they work in physical therapy. And they were assisting an elderly gentleman with his walker and helping him walk and go through all of that, the whole schmagegi of physical therapy for that particular session. And they told him to carefully and very easy, just go slow. But I want you to go to the window and then to the wall. And then go to the window and to the wall. And then she realized what she was saying and had hoped that he wasn't aware of that particular musical reference. Anyway, so I'm not too sure if other people had a curfew in their city, but we did. Which if I remember correctly, I think it started on my birthday, which is May 30th. Yes, slipping that in once again. Which, what was sad is the why behind it. But I was happy for the awareness and hopefully change that will occur as a result of these curfews, and hopefully people took that time to reflect on it. So, but unfortunately, the peace and quiet of a curfew was very short-lived. Did not stay fully quiet for very long, because of course the person, and actually I should say people with untrained dogs, that they tend to walk and they bark nonstop at people, places, and things. They were all out for a very long walk, and there's even teens who live in the area at other places, and they tend to make a pit stop in front of the place where I reside, and on the tree lawn there, they hang out there and they talk late at night, and it's outside everybody's open windows, and of course they're not wearing any masks, But, so they were out, of course, along with the idiots who like to peel out and drag race on the streets, and also the other idiots who shoot off fireworks while it is very, very, very much bright outside with full daylight, like not even close to dusk, and they're setting fireworks off. So I do not get that, but yeah. So let's see, what else happened? Beep boop beep boop boop boop. Yeah. Oh, I had a good friend that suggested that whenever things happen in one's neighborhood, I should call it America's Golden Hour, and just set up the podcast outside and just comment on people walking by, which I'm sure there is a podcast for that, but please don't steal my podcast name. Create one of your own, because Mari's Golden Hour is mine. Let's see, what else? And you know what, I don't know, maybe one of these days I will do a podcast, just sitting outdoors and commenting on everything that I see. I don't know. We'll see about that. But, I don't know. I tend to be like a super elderly old person who prefers to stay indoors and be in their comfy PJs while they make their dinner and just, I don't know, reflect on things and curl up with a silly movie and my Afghan and, you know, just chill. But, anyway, so, what else? Oh, I also checked out a few sketches of the Carol Burnett show, which was kind of fun to see, and, it was just like watching a really cool time capsule of a certain era, and, just seeing all those old vaudeville-esque actors, like, Harvey Korman and Paul Lynde, and Carol just trying not to crack up from the improv by all the other actors that she was working with. And Bing Crosby was one of the, I guess her special guests for one of those episodes, and so he made his appearance as a priest, and which I think might have been a callback to a movie that he did where he played a priest. And but to see him with his public movie persona when he is, I believe, and as far as I know, he was known for a more misogynistic and attitude, and not necessarily being a stand-up guy in public. And but that was disheartening, just recalling some of that stuff. But aside from that, I loved all that old school vaudeville bits, and yeah, some of them might have been a little dated, but overall they still carried and packed quite a punch. So I guess I'm going to get down to it. You know, the world is attempting to right itself, and I believe the people are writing it themselves in it. And so one thing I just want to point out is just for those that, for whatever reason, are questioning and are confused and wondering what to do, I say to that because you know, I don't like to be one of those people that educate. I know that there's plenty of other people out there to do it. But for those who are, guess, I don't know, not, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll just say confused and wondering what to do. Sometimes some of us get a little tired of constantly educating. So what I will say is just be attentive and listen. And stand up for the underdog and help out, not hurt. And be aware. Be aware of people, be aware of words, and be aware of actions. Be aware of your thoughts. So another observation. Actually, I saw this today. I saw a truck on the freeway with bumper stickers, and one of them was something that was pro-union. The other was All Trucks Matter, which is a steal of the logo for the Black Lives Matter movement. And so, of course, my first thought was, you know, why not have a sticker of something original? Like maybe something that's based on pro-trucks, instead of ripping off something that, I don't know, a movement of color started. But that, of course, has happened throughout history of, ripping off the thing that's cool, or, trying to less than the movement and the feelings and the thoughts of others that are of color. But I was trying to choose and figure out like how to feel about it and my reaction to it, because on one hand, free speech, on the other, is it like some dude who's making a mockery of the seriousness of this hurtful issue, and issues, I should say. I'm not sure when that bumper sticker was created or when that person attached it, and how do they really feel about people of another race? Was it complete ignorance, racism? I don't know. Either way, I just feel it's kind of insensitive to the plight. And my assumption is that the owner of this truck is likely male and white. And it could have been a female who's driving it, and just thought nothing of it. But to think nothing of that, I don't know. That kind of speaks volumes. I was also listening to NPR during the early part of the evening, and I heard an interview with a mayor, or actually could have been an officer of the law in some level. I can't recall, because I was busy multitasking and I missed the introduction for this interview. But I don't know. I believe that she was an officer. But anyway, I heard this person use the term civil discourse, and using that term in place of other civil things like civil protest or disobedience or riot. Civil discourse changes how the words we hear are heard, and it changes the thought process, and I think it changes how the issue is reflected. If it is civil discourse, I don't know. I just feel like the reaction and the reaction and the action that's taken. I think it just kind of changes things. I think it changes how people view whatever's going on, or how they act within that situation, or how they discuss the matter, how they think about it, just all of that. And I don't know, I like that as a phrase, civil discourse. And also in another NPR report, I was very, very, very heartened to hear the opinions and reactions, and also the actions of other people from around the globe in response to Mr. Floyd's death, and really just their reaction, their opinion to the ugly actions of the officers that were surrounding that whole public execution. And it was kind of cool to hear their support and their feelings of all this great injustice that has taken place here, and their support of our country's civil discourse. All of that is just heartening, just to hear that from across the way. And for a change, it's not about, you're not hearing this overseas lumping of our country as ugly Americans, and they see that we are angered. And it might not be everybody, but they see that overall there's this, there's just unity. This unity of being angered and tired of putting up with such blatant hatred and such blatant racism on all levels. And I just felt like the other countries were kind of with us, on this positive change. So I don't know, I just thought that was really cool. So I you know what, I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm going to wrap it up by, again, thanking everybody for the support, the laughs. I thank you for the birthday wishes, the birthday greetings, the birthday cards, and the birthday gifts, and just the well wishes all around. And so thank you for that, everybody. I appreciate that. All the texts and emails and whatnots, or the people I might bump into on the street, just giving well wishes, so I appreciate that. And thank you, everybody, for liking, for commenting, for subscribing, and just in general for the overall positivity. And it is always, 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 always appreciated. And with that, I will bid you adieu. And I just want to end this by saying, again, thank you very much. But for you, be kind to yourself and be kind to one another. And with that, I say ciao. And thank you again for listening to Mari's Golden Hour. Bye.